In 5:15, I'd like to call the Economic Development Committee for Tuesday, August 29th to order. Let's stand for pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call has been taken. Need to approve the agenda. To adopt the agenda. I hear a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion by Belinda, a second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We need to approve the July 25th, 2023 minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Fache, second by Kapitsky to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there any public comment? Doesn't look like there's any public comment tonight. So we will move on to continue discussion about Northeast Business Park property purchasing incentive.
All right, so what I wanted to do is obviously continue that discussion, but maybe earmark a discussion a little bit more to start off with. See what we want to do with an asking price per acre in the industrial park. If you remember from my memo and from our discussion last week, I kind of gave you some information of what other communities are doing. Fox Valley, they're all over the place depending on where they're at and what types of services they have available. Like I said, Wyominga and Clintonville are currently asking price from my research, $10,000 per acre. Wapaka reported $40,000 per acre, but did note they do negotiate the property and give it away, kind of like what we talked about doing in our situations. Shamel is starting at $20,000 per acre with their incentive program that we talked about last month. So one of the reasons why I want to kind of get to the asking price for what we're going to be looking for per acre, and maybe to lead that off with a little discussion of some of the current discussions I've had with either developers or interested businesses in the past couple of months, maybe kind of help you navigate where you're thinking with things. So I have been asked flat out what we're currently asking per acre from, I don't know if everybody's aware, I know the council members are aware, there's potential for a large solar farm going out outside of town in the township, not in the city, it's several miles outside of town, but they are looking at routing their transmission lines to the industrial park where ATC has their current substation. Should have the maps already. But one of the things that this company is looking at doing with their solar farm is potentially having a battery facility. So evidently what this battery facility does is charges up during the daytime, and then at night when they're not collecting energy from their solar collectors, then the battery facility would discharge into the ATC substation. So in our industrial park, where you can see right here, ATC substation are these two parcels right here. And then the smaller one is our New London Utility substation where they gain quite a bit of their power from. So the solar company has asked what we're asking per acre, and they said they're looking at like 15 acres that they would like to start off with, which would be quite a bit of this chunk right here. That potentially they would put a battery facility in there and then would feed into the substation. Now in that type of scenario, I don't foresee a ton of job growth. You know, we have always talked about assessed value and job growth. In that type of situation, I don't see a ton of job growth. There'll be some jobs created in that facility to help maintain it. I don't know what the assessed value is of something like that. I've asked the rep for some information. What are we looking at? I mean, is it something that, you know, has a lot of assessed value, has no assessed value? I mean, I think we need to know that before we move forward with any type of recommendation for that type of facility. So that was one potential client, I guess, that has come to the city asking for information. I've also had another business recently come in. It's actually a builder a design build firm working or representing a company. This would be a nice one to gain. It sounds like it's a 60 to 80,000 square foot facility, production facility. I don't know what it is. Haven't been given that information, but that's another one that they're looking at, 5 or plus acres to start off with, which with options to expand. That one I think would be a great scenario for the asking price, but depending on the assessed value and the job growth, we would whittle it down to make it very encouraging to get them to build in the city. We've also had another one, and I don't think this is an option for us, but another one that they asked for a lot of different, there's, I don't know if you guys remember New North. We talked about New North, the Northeast Wisconsin Regional organization. They send out different RFPs, requests for proposals. They're looking for places for businesses. A business will look for information. They want to find a facility that has certain criteria. So they send out an RFP for information, and New North will send that information out on behalf of this region. We'll send that information back, and it'll go back to the business to see if we're a potential site for that. This one site is looking for a data center facility. So like like Walmart or a Microsoft or something like that. I mean, all these data centers that are going up for just collecting data. It's interesting to hear that a facility like this, the initial ask is 50 acres. And the electricity requirement that they're looking at would be triple, if not quadruple, what the entire city uses today. I think they were talking about the initial need would be 200 to like 500 megawatts. Jay from New London Utility says right now we max out at 32 megawatts. So I mean, the amount of energy production that's needed for these data centers is quite interesting. But I get information like that every once in a while, and I send back these RFPs with information about what are we asking, what's our asking price, how many acres do we have available, can we supply this amount of water, this amount of electric, and this amount of sanitary sewer. So to get back to the point of the conversation, we wanted to kind of get us to a point of what's our asking price per acre, that if someone comes to me, I have some information to give them, or if these RFPs come out, at least I can put it in there and like start the conversation and get their interest to come to New London. So, you know, it's kind of an open-ended statement from there, but any thoughts of what the committee would like to go with? I wouldn't see we'd be too far from what I have in the screen from our, you know, respective communities, but in the same sense, I think what we talked about, I mean, we want to incentivize groups to come here. So depending on what they want to put on in our industrial park, we can whittle that down. Asking price.
We spoke last time of what some of the very local was doing. Not so much like the Shawano area, but like Hortonville specifically. Did we gather any data, or have we had the chance to see what their, you know, what someone?
I have not.
Where you're saying Shawano is starting at 20,000, that's why you're looking at the value of the piece of property that they would want in the industrial park? Is that what their 20,000 starting at would be?
It's the starting asking price. So Shawano, like I said, their scenario is they give discounts or credits based on, you know, the thousands of dollars of assessed value and the number of jobs created. You know, if it's a facility that's, you know, in the Shawano situation, you know, if it's a facility that's just going to put up a storage structure and it's not much assessed value and it's not much jobs, you know, then you're probably charging, you know, quite a bit of the asking price per acre. But if it's something that's got a little bit more assessed value to the city and or job creation, in the Shawano example, that's what they were, how they were incentivizing the program.
Is that the reason, do you know, is that the reason why they set that price at hypothetically 40,000, so that they're higher to kind of dissuade those types of businesses from going in there, that someone would, you know, go elsewhere rather than put a mini storage or a storage unit inside a industrial park?
I didn't get into the whys. I
Okay.
just got into that's what they're asking.
Yeah, I think part of it, from what I follow, you know, in other communities, part of it is exactly what Chad said. If somebody's gonna come and that put a lot of, not equalized value in the building, just put up a pole shed and stack lumber out back. That's not gonna bring in tax value to, there's a lot of money, millions of dollars went into that industrial park. And it's updated infrastructure. It's new. I mean, newer. It's not gonna be redug up in a long time. New London also has a much more affordable tax rate. And it has more affordable utilities and one of the most reliable utility delivery systems in the state. So those are all factors that are gonna lure someone in, but Chad's point is we need to maybe set that ball higher per acre where it would like gonna cause you or I to have sticker shock because we're used to domestic real estate, not industrial. But I think that you gotta have it in the first line, if anything, right behind the sticker tag that we're willing to negotiate. For some places, we give it away, and that's what has to come out in it, I think.
To answer your question, right on their website, industrial park, strategic geographic location with good access, reliable, adequate facilities and infrastructure, telecom network, readily available, high-speed internet access. Park is shovel-ready, appropriate zoning, single ownership, very competitive price. Outside 100-year FEMA floodplain, minimum purchase is 1.5 acres. Very competitive price at $15,000 per acre.
Is that the Hortonville or Shawano? Which one was it?
That's Hortonville,
It's Hortonville.
conveniently located at County Highway TT and Industrial Park Avenue. Near all rail services, 10 miles from the airport.
Ours is way more conveniently located than theirs is. The
So-
major highways.
So they're saying 15 per acre is where Hortonville is at.
To go on John's point, I'd like to see that industrial park be used for, job creation and, some kind of industry that isn't just storage. I'm really concerned about the battery thing with this solar part because that's so trendy right now. And, there's a lot of tax breaks and incentives going into that right now. And then in a year or two, that might go away. And what will happen to those batteries? Would they just be abandoned there? They're not creating any jobs. It's just, so I if we could put some kind of language in there that says, it's not for storage, but for job creation, keep it at 10,000 acre, 15,000 acre, but I'd like to see it more used for those type of businesses.
And remember, you have the final say to sell it. I mean, this is just my starting point and starting the negotiation process with whoever it is. Obviously, whoever I negotiate with, that comes to you. And if you guys don't like the project, you're not selling the land. You own the land.
I think you should start at 20,000. I think the Porterville's getting 15. I just think once the bypass is done, it's gonna be way better as far as access.
It's 15 per acre and a half over there.
So it's 15 per acre.
15 per acre.
You have to buy it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
1.5,
Okay.
so
So,
basically, you're paying $22,500 is the least amount you're gonna pay.
I like the Shawano's 20 and then an incentive program, which is, I
Yep.
think is a plus.
And I appreciate the points of like the job creation and the storage, so that when I'm going in these negotiations, talking to people, now I know what you guys are feeling out before. I mean, I hate to go into some negotiation and get something all squared away and then bring it to you guys and all of a sudden, we don't want that.
Well, we want job creation, we want tax base, right?
I mean,
Don't need a whole industrial park full of storage sheds,
mhm.
batteries.
I would have note, like, we said before, I would have no problem giving the land away.
That's why you say it's negotiable. within the
Right.
Program.
Would have no problem giving the land away if that I knew that there was a substantial employment opportunity coming in here. If we had another, Hillshire or whatever coming into town, Steel King, whoever is going to employ some people, I would have no problem whatsoever saying, here it is. $1 an acre. Here we go.
If you look at what's there now, we've got Northland Electric, we've got EJ, we do have a church out there, which is different. Yeah, that's a good point.
The cheese factor.
Cheese factory, yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess, is there any platforms you can advertise, we have a cheese factory, is there some other industry that would help that cheese factory,
Dairy farm.
packaging facility, I don't know, slicing, Sargento or something, that slices cheese or whatever, I'm just saying, look at what we have in town and then actively pursue certain industries that would help the other industry.
Well, you guys did bring up no storage, but storage is #1 key for businesses.
It doesn't belong in an industrial park.
I'm just saying, though, you bring up Hilger Truck. Okay, they're looking for storage. They're also a local business that runs out of the city of New London. I think to me, jumping the gun as far as a storage facility. I
It's
think
not-
that.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think it
Not said
depends
that-
on the type of.
Yeah,
spot.
it's a
wasn't a-
different kind of storage. I mean,
I mean, that's warehousing.
Right.
I'm not saying no
Warehousing
warehousing
for-
either, because that is tax based, right?
Yeah.
Building is tax. That's not what we're saying. I'm not saying that, no storage whatsoever, because if they want to build a huge cold storage out there, we're still gonna make money.
And they will have to employ people.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Right.
compared to no storage to now,
Yeah.
okay, now we do warehousing, that's a different story.
20,000 an acre is kind of discourage your regular storage buildings, I would think, at 20,000 an acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about baseline price here.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what's to say Amcor doesn't need room to put rolls?
Right.
We want them to stay here, but I don't want them to say, well, we got more storage capability for pre-made rolls in Tennessee. You can't just say no storage and, but that's as you go, that's a as you go discussion.
I just talked to a brewery that said, hey, we're looking for storage, maybe we can't move there. Guys are in a decent location for warehousing.
I don't know about you guys, but in the event of an adverse weather situation or something else more worse disrupting the power grid in the United States, I would love nothing more than to have a major battery storage facility next to our power grid coming into our city, because they're not going to use that battery power and ship it to Washington. It's going to go right here to these factories. So there are pros and cons to look at it. There's also environmental cleanup hazards when you store batteries, but that's a whole nother discussion. I'm sorry, but I mean, each of those individual usage for those open available lots, that's a discussion in itself at planning commission and different things and community discussions, but
But I think that's a good starter, right?
I mean, yeah,
I think it's good that we have this discussion, I originally was very against the batteries, but I mean, they make a very good point.
until
So
we
I-
figure out a way to store it better.
Right.
my biggest concern with that is what's the assessed value for that type of facility? I have no clue. And I've reached out to the rep and asked them if they can give me some more information on that. I think all that information we need to know
I would
before
think
we
you,
move forward with any type of scenario there.
So they just hosted a public meeting last Monday,
Yep, last week.
and I was there. It might be interesting to ask them to come speak to this group about their proposed project.
think it's a good idea.
They pitched it at that meeting as bringing in something like 300 temporary jobs while the project is being installed. And then there would be some ongoing maintenance positions, but I think it would be like a handful.
And that was for the main solar farm. Not so
In
much. the
in
battery
Maple Creek.
facility, yeah.
Right, yeah, and so it was kind of interesting because they at that meeting indicated that there was some kind of separation between the battery bank or whatever you want to call it and the solar farm. And so I thought it was kind of interesting to hear you say that they were directly connected, which makes
Separation of
sense.
Different companies.
That's the way they made it sound at the meeting. They're like, that's not ours. That's not. The way it was described at that meeting, and maybe I misunderstood, but they are going to have something like their own little substation out there in the solar farm. And then they will transmit electricity from that substation to the ATC station. But they at that time, at that meeting, told the residents that the battery bank is unconnected, which doesn't make any sense. But that is what they told the residents. I also am not really sure about the viability of that project because the project itself is all voluntary to get the electricity from the solar farm to that ATC substation. And there were an awful lot of residents who were dead set against it coming in. And if they can't find a corridor, they, meaning the solar company, cannot find a corridor to get it there, it won't happen. They don't have, at this point, they don't have the ability to use like eminent domain the way utility company.
Mhm.
Interesting. Is there any other questions about the Northeast Business Park? So I guess we're gonna have you just keep going forward with, what we say, 20,000 an acre?
And I may put some formal documents together for you guys to kind of look at. So you guys are approving something, just so there's some formal action, but let me put together some program of documents with this and maybe some other bullet points that we talked about, and then you guys can review it and we can go from there.
Thanks, Chad. That was awesome. Good discussion. All right, moving along. We have discussed budgeting ideas for the 2024 economic development projects and focuses.
All right, it is budget season for city staff. We are actively putting together our 2024 budget. So I wanted to take the opportunity to ask the committee, and I know it's an open-ended question, but now's the time to think about it if we want to budget specifically for something, if we want to do anything in 2024 for economic development projects and focuses. So we do have an operating budget and we do have a reserve fund. So the operating budget is about $40,000. We don't spend all of it by any means. There's money in there in the budget right now for the commission, the citizen advisory members, and the payments for the committee members for attending meetings. We've got, when I go to training, there's some training money that's in there. There's some money put away in that operation budget for if we have to have any legal expenses for closing on land or any surveys for land, especially about an industrial park. There's some money back in there that if we have to do anything legally for closing on property, there's some money there. We are involved in the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation as a member, one of the municipal members in the county with that. And then there's some money for consultants. If you remember several years ago, I think it's the year I started, or the year before I started, we hired a consultant to do that study for where SC Swiderski is building. Who's that gentleman's name? Todd Hutchinson, right?
Mhm.
Todd, so that came out of that budget as well. So we usually don't spend all that money by any means, but there's money in there in case there's a focus or something that comes up throughout the year for projects. Currently, we have about $135,000 in the reserve fund. It's called assigned fund balance, but just it's easier to think about it as the reserve fund. And usually whatever's left over in the operating budget, Judy will just carry over and have the council approve it to put it in the reserve fund the prior or the next year, just to kind of keep on building that. And we take out like the billboard's gonna come out of there and some other things, focuses come out of there. So there is money, in a reserve that you guys don't have to figure out something now to place in the 2024 budget. But if there's something that you guys really want to focus on for 2024, now's the time to talk about it to see if I need to slip it in as a budget request or if we can kind of figure out that we're going to use our reserve funds for that. So again, I know it's open-ended question, but do you guys have any focuses that you want to work on for 2024? Kind of goals as well, I guess.
I guess I would kind of like to see what kind of movement we could have on a billboard on 15. What's going on with that, where that landed,
Mhm.
where it's going, what the costs would be. We had talked about that previously.
You mean the electronic?
I
Yeah.
did have that information in a previous meeting, so I just have to go back and relook at that.
Yeah, and just, see what we could do with that. I think that would be a great thing, especially with the bypass happening.
I know Chad and I were discussing signage out in the industrial park that we were just discussing. I think putting a sign out there is going to advertise very well.
Yeah, I did get a quote from a company to put a sign up on Highway 45 for the industrial park and then the names of the businesses that are out there. 'Cause there's nothing, you see that in other areas, you go past for their industrial park and you got the names of the businesses that are out there. I do have that information. I gotta relook at that. It's not cheap. And something big enough that you're driving 60 miles an hour to see, it's gotta be big enough to see that. But I can look at that as well. I think that was well over $100,000 project for a big, two-way signs or something like that. And we don't have the land either. We'd have to probably purchase some land.
We talked last month about a stuffer that would have been put in with utility bills. Is that something that we should consider on an ongoing basis? Because if I remember right, that was to kind of create awareness on what's happening and if that should be something that we consider more annually versus just kind of a one-time. Is that something we put in the budget or is that too small for what you're looking for?
Do you remember how much was it?
It's a few $100s.
Yeah, it was like 300 or 600, something like that. So that could be something that's in the budget. But I think we want to see how the reaction or the effect of the last one,
Feedback.
kind of evaluate and see, are people talking about it? Or is it just something that people saw it and threw it away? It'd be kind of interesting to see as well.
So if we did it every month, it'd be less than 4,000.
It was like 300 and something, wasn't it?
Say something.
330 or something.
Does that include the setup time? Who's designing it?
Do it on utilities, takes it, prints it, stuffs it, everything's included in that price.
April and the chamber designed it.
Okay.
Put all the information together.
Would you guys be willing to do that though? On a monthly basis? We have time
But
to
it's
do that.
a year, not on a monthly basis.
That's what I'm saying, like.
Yeah.
we want-
I think
And it's a-
quarterly
it's a-
updates
Well,
would be,
it's a yearly report card though, so I don't know how you would do that on a quarterly basis.
I think
think on an
yearly
annual-
is-
Makes more sense.
Do we need to look at the facade grant? Does that have interest or is this a bad sample here to try to figure out?
I think that's an excellent point of discussion. Is that something you want to continue? Right now, I have 2 applications in, each of them for 3,000 piece, or that's $6,000 total right there. So it hasn't been outstanding. I mean, there's been half dozen-ish coming through every year.
6 a year. 6 a year though. Main Street.
It's right now, it's probably $3,000 matching. So Packet did when they did their downtown, but theirs was quite a bit larger. 15,000 matching or something. It was, don't quote me on the number, it was substantial. So, I mean, you could use that money for different focus. You know, we've been earmarking about $20,000 a year. That's been coming out of the reserve fund for the facade program. You know, if you want to try it for a year or two. And it sounds like with PACA, their interest really kicked in after the project, the year after. So I don't know if we're going to see a little bit of a boost the year after our 2024 downtown project. But is there any different type of programs you want to use that money for?
I know I kind of brought this up a couple of meetings ago about the missing middle, or, you know, we're missing housing in this town and we're having mega structures being built, but we have that missing middle. Do you want to kind of encourage builders to, you know, have up to 5% or whatever of their build to go, you know, a tax incentive to build, you know, townhouses or duplexes or something like that?
Or see what type of program would encourage that type of growth?
Excuse me.
Otherwise, I think that with our downtown still being tore up for another year, I don't think we really need to advertise the downtown yet. I think we should wait till 2025 or the end of 2024 to really hit billboards and say, hey, check out, you know, new and improved New London. So I guess, you know, focusing on the industrial park would be a good, you know, place to do projects and focuses, whatever.
I think like you're saying, the first year, they're not gonna want to do anything, but after that, when everything else is new, they're gonna want their place to look pretty nice too, so you might get more interest after everything is done downtown.
Yeah, my thought in the billboard thing for 2024 would have been later in the year, when it's all done. But put it in the 2024 budget so that the contract, so that the planning can be done. And then come fall.
Because you have that, and then you'll have Highway 15 finish up in the fall of 2024. So
Yeah.
those two things together are reason.
Why you'd want to hit it in that, like, this time next year
The
kind
fall
of thing.
next year.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other focuses or projects that the committee wants to look into?
Budgetary wise, last meeting we talked with April, shared some ideas, and everyone shared some ideas about what we could. Those folks downtown are gonna take a hit, you know. So we talked from everything about getting a cart to ad campaigns to just, you know, we got the banners made up. I don't know what that came out of economic development.
Yep.
So April probably could come up, you know, work with some. We should maybe set a dollar amount budget, or just do we go as we come up with ideas and pay for it as we go, or do we want to earmark it in the 2024 budget?
If it's minor things like a couple banners, I just take that out. If it's something major, you know, we might want to take that out of that reserve fund.
Anecdotally, I mean, we are starting to run into a lot of parking questions. Like, everybody's asking us that need to come down to our office, where do we park? And so signage for parking would be very helpful during that project.
It's a little confusing right now. You get signs on both sides that say the businesses are open, but then you turn the corner and there's big signs that say no through traffic. So people think, oh, no through traffic, I can't go down there. But you can if you go into the businesses. But so there's a little confusion there, because they actually been pretty awesome. You know, getting out of the way at night, leaving, you know, watching for people. I mean, the construction's going fine. I mean, and you can get down there, you know, and people are asking me too, like, oh, can I park? You can park right in front of my shop, you know, it just go around the barricades, you know, and they're watching for you. And it's been, you know, but so there's a little confusion because people think they can't go down there.
I think you hit it just right, though. Maybe we do need to emphasize the parking a little bit more, where that's at. I think that's pretty easy done. I was down there, I mean, looking at people, come down there on a Friday night and walk around, explore and see what the city's doing, what Main Street, what's happening on Main Street, I think is pretty awesome. It was happening a lot more than what I anticipated.
Parking will be different next year just because that parking lot will be done. And that was the whole intent of that parking lot. So we can advertise for that a little bit better. We want to get right up to the downtown or North Water Street, boom, here's your parking lot, here's your parking lot. We've gotten partners with the church downtown that they opened up their parking lot. The theater allowed us to work, and it was something that Tim asked if we could try to work with more businesses, which they were graciously, they accepted. So we gotta,
I think
Shout out to them.
signage for that, because I'm not seeing people parking there.
That's what I
I
mean.
mean,
yeah.
if people,
Signage by those parking lots.
Yep.
if,
We ordered signage
if
right now.
if somebody's
there?
coming to the
At the church or
intersection
something.
of Pearl Street and North Water, and they intended to turn left and go down North Water, and they see that's the sign saying that the road is closed, they're thinking, well, shoot, what do I do now? Right? So signage, but also having signage in places that are most helpful to people who are running into an unexpected issue,
Like parking that way,
right? Where do I go from here?
direct them a little bit more.
Mhm. That's a good point. A sign there saying where to go park for downtown access would be,
Yeah, a route.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want is what you shared is it is posted through traffic. We don't want people driving through there. They're trying to work and do things, but if you want to visit a business, then you can go there and visit, but maybe the terminology or have an access, a detour route to parking, follow this.
Yeah.
Because we don't need trucks and everything going through.
no,
I mean, they're working outside the branch now and these guys are really good at what they're doing. They're watching for traffic. They're up on sidewalks, out at the road, and
When I was getting my hair cut too, the changes, she was getting so many calls, like, where should I park today? It changes, at least weekly, things are changing, so you might want to think about similar to what you do with leaf pickup. For those couple weeks during leaf pickup, this is gonna be going on, here are the city lots and whatever, and then
that would be good information to put into the utility bills.
let's say put that in the flyer, yeah, that stuff, or
Good idea.
The parking definitely changes daily.
yes.
So it's hard to really get that out. Hey, you can park here because next time you can't. But they're moving right along. It sounds like they're like a couple weeks ahead of schedule.
They're
They're,
doing great.
so I mean, another couple weeks, I mean, that's gonna be open, I feel.
Listening. Go ahead.
No, well, this year's tough just because it's changing so quick where they're at and they're moving. But for next year, since that new parking lot is gonna be developed, to your point, Bill, having signage like on the intersection of Pearl in North Water and Shawano in North Water, directional signs to the parking. Downtown parking, like a sign, downtown parking here, an arrow, blue arrow, boom, 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 to get them to the new parking lot. That's not gonna change once that's gonna be, the parking area for the downtown throughout the project. So next year, it's gonna be a lot easier to make parking signage, detour signage than it is this year.
I don't remember where we were at, but we actually saw, there was a thing that said to downtown parking, and then there was
Yes.
just a little thing that kind of, it's kind of like the dinosaur footprints on the sidewalk, and when you're following, it was really neat thing to follow.
Just pick a color scheme. For your signs, for your parking lot,
definitely for next year,
you need colors.
What's that?
definitely for next year.
Yes, that'll be a lot easier to direct them to where to park next year.
I do want to say, I know not everyone is on Facebook, but I think the city's doing a really great job about daily updates, answering questions when they come on there, educating the public. So I know not everybody's on Facebook and not everybody's reading the local loop for the chamber, but we're trying to get that information out there.
We gotta recognize Trista for that, because she's
Right.
putting out those updates and
Mhm.
trying to keep up with that. So. But I think the signage thing for the downtown park, I think that's a really good idea for next year.
Yeah, because right from this view, I can look out there and I can see school and pool straight ahead, boat launch straight ahead, Memorial Park left, and it's a veterans memorial. It did something, and they could be mobile. I mean, it could be on a stand that rolls around.
Is there any other discussion on projects and focuses for 2024 budget? Moving right along, we got business updates from April Kapitsky.
All right. I am happy to report that the nail salon and spa on Shawnee Street. There were two sisters that were running that nail spa over by Coldwell Banker, and one of them moved away to Florida. She was gonna open up a nail spa there. Didn't work out for her, so she is back, and that nail spa is now open as of August 15th. Anybody who's tried to make an appointment downtown knows that they're not taking new clients because they're so busy. So it's good to have another nail salon open in New London. Shawnee Street development continues. I talk with that developer probably weekly. There are a couple things that are public. He's working with some of the tenants in Wolf River Plaza right now because they're not happy with their situation. Security Finance has signed a lease, so they will be moving fall of 2024 over by Kurt, the Shawnee Street development. He's also opening up what's called a drop and go, which I think is a really cool idea. So it's going to be laundry, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, and Speedy. And his tagline is going to be something like, you drop it, we wash it, package it, or ship it. So it's going to be a cool concept. It's going to be like a higher end laundry where you drop off your laundry and someone washes it, dries it, folds it, and it's all set and ready for you. He's also expanding his gym. He's doing a little rearranging. He's expanding his gym to include kickboxing, like a Golden Gloves boxing option. Chad and I met with the owners of the Dragon's Den, the investors. They have some really, really cool ideas that they are doing. We're super excited to have them be part of New London. So they're doing some major renovations. They call them light renovations. I call them awesome renovations. And they will be opening September 9th. The community covered, I just met with them. They've been located in the lower part of the senior center or Washington Center for years. And they are expanding to a new location in the Washington Center. We'll be doing a ribbon cutting for them the 28th of September. So it'll be the south side of the building. They're super excited. It's just going to give them more room, more storage, a walk-in freezer, and just be able to support the community in better ways. And then I don't have full details on this. She just stopped in briefly, and I was about to go into a meeting, but there is a sandwich shop coming to downtown on North Water Street. Her name is Miriam. She manages some of the buildings downtown on North Water Street, and I'm not exactly sure which building it is, but she just said that she's going to be ready to go in the next couple of months with a sandwich shop. So I'll have more details on that once I get time to sit down with her.
That's great. City administrator report.
Yep, we talked about the development already, and like I said, I put some information in here about that new data center site, just with the amount of electricity needs that those new data centers are requiring. So it was just kind of neat information that I put it in there. April talked about meeting with Yash and Pam. As of now, April and I have plans in the middle of September. Go take a downtown business walk, touch base with downtown businesses. And then just a reminder that we're hosting a Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Roundtable event on September 14th. If anybody's interested in attending that event, let me know. I can get you signed up. That's it.
Perfect. Anybody have potential agenda items for future meetings?
So last month, I think John brought up that shuttle idea again for downtown, just kind of a service. And I did get in contact with our National Honor Society advisor at the school, because I think a few months ago, somebody had mentioned we could look into like students running that or something. And that's a service-based organization. So I got in contact with her and she said that would be something that would be interesting to look into to help the students get service hours, which they're required to get to be part of that organization. Obviously, they couldn't be doing it during the day, but we talked about maybe having that be a weekend thing. Of course, administration at the high school would have to approve that and everything. And I could even look into maybe if the high school has a ton of golf carts too. That I don't know if that's something we're still interested in, but I talked about that a little bit. But there's a lot of people that need to approve that first. if that's something we're interested in. And then I also, I'm going to look into, somebody had a question last meeting about how that whole service from the parking lot to the football arena runs with that ATV with the trailer on it. If the Gridiron Club owns that or the high school. And we're going back to school in a few weeks here, so I will have that ready to go for the next meeting, like information on that if you still want that.
Nice.
That's great. Thank you for all your hard work.
So do you want me to put that on like an agenda item then?
Sure.
Talk about
Shuttle.
downtown shuttle?
I'd
I think-
almost-
Go ahead.
I'd almost not only, I don't know that it only needs to be a shuttle, but if there's a people or a group that's interested, maybe just boots on the ground of somebody guiding, walking across traffic, maybe carrying a box or something. If somebody just needs to, yes, I need to get to there. Oh, yep, we can park here and I can walk you there. Or maybe it's here we talked about, just maybe an advisor person on the ground might be helpful.
Any other ideas for future agenda?
We've got placemaking on there. It's been on there for a while yet. To bring that back, what would the committee like to see for information ahead of that? Hans kind of gave a little presentation a couple months ago on that. Where do we want to go with it, I guess, at this point?
First thing we should probably look at is, and it'd be more Park and Rec, but I know Ginger processes a lot of event permits. So if everyone here in this committee had a little presentation on what that entails or whatever, I mean, we can all sit here and say, let's have a big cookout, let's have a big shindig at the Ball Diamonds, but there's a lot going on there. So, I mean, as committee members, everyone on this committee, not necessarily in on every park meeting, but we might be the ones approached if we got new business people coming into town, doing exciting projects downtown. They might want to have sidewalk days. They might want to have different things. The first people they're going to come to is someone on the Economic Development Committee, and we're going to go, I don't know, just set up a grill and have a brat fry. So I don't know, maybe it's not a good topic but it's something in that has to be part of the discussion and placemaking, because you can't just close streets and have a block party.
And
You know?
that process is already in place. We have a special events program that we started years ago. So maybe some of the citizen members don't know that, but there's a process. If someone wants to hold a special event on city property, then there's an application process and they give us all the information, what do you want to do? What are the days and times, what type of resources do you need from the city? Do you need any permits? Is it liquor license? Is those, fireworks permit? Is it the after hours music license? That's all in that encompassing thing. So if anybody does get a question on that, Ginger right now is the one that manages that. So send them to Ginger and ask them for a special events permit.
I guess, yeah, from this committee's perspective, now that we've got, and we have that policy and the permit policy to protect the city from obvious reasons, but how's that process? Maybe some of these folks that have had events or went through that learning curve process, maybe we bring them in and say, if you can spare 45 minutes or half hour discussion, how was the process for you? If somebody new comes in and you've been running your event for a long time in the city, they can get that information from Ginger or somebody at park staff, but they may feel comfortable talking to somebody from youth baseball or somebody more comfortable talking to somebody from Shamrock Club or somebody that's had events, or there's a new event that's been going on. And I know the city's working with them to try to relocate that away from Memorial because of traffic congestion. But so I guess this committee would more or less be a panel to say, how can we help you? Or how could we improve? Or what were the learning curves for you? And how can we help encourage other people in town to create events like you did? I don't know, maybe I'll write it up in a better proposal or thought process and give it to Tim and to pass on to Chad, but you know, kind of just, I'd like to get their feedback. Maybe we send them a little survey. How did things go? And we ought to have, I know certain events create a lot of extra labor for the street department, for the parks department. So I'd want Robert and Luke or those people to also have input. Staff people saying, oh geez, not another event. You know, I'd like to know their input so that we can, if somebody does want to create an event or bring something back that used to happen in town, we want to know both sides of what that's going to take from our own staff people, from entrepreneur people, new people, and the people that are successfully holding these events. So it'd kind of be like a forum.
Along those lines, I know we've had a lot of citizens in town take upon themselves to have events in town, like the May Festival and that last one we just had at Rock and Corn Fest. Has there been a survey or anything sent out to them after the fact, asking them how it went? You know, how can we improve it? Stuff like that, some kind of after action.
So first, I'd like to compliment Ginger on a job well done with these groups and bringing in all these new activities and stuff. But I will be the first to tell you that we've had a lot of failures and a lot of successes. And what I talk to these event organizers, that I try to stay involved in what's going on with them and with the city and try to be that liaison, is communication and letting them know that we're there for them. What do they need? Okay, this failed. Why? What can we do different? So in essence, after these big events, we do have a debriefing and we bring them in and I tell them up front, you guys go back and you find out all your do's and don'ts, your problems. We do the same thing. And we're gonna come here and we're gonna collectively work through this. And what worked for one may have not worked for the other. Sometimes it does. But better organized, better communication, and setting up things a lot easier and a lot smoother, that so when somebody does come in with these great big projects or events, I should say, it's a project, it's more of a seamless line and they have all the paperwork and all those types of questions are asked already. I mean, one huge thing is bans, noise ordinance, noise complaints, stuff like that. And sometimes that's just strategically placing a stage. And we as cities are learning a lot. Ginger's learning a lot. She's put a lot of nice stuff together to pass on. So a lot of that stuff is in play already. And can we get better at it? Absolutely.
But to make the point that you just said, even better than a survey, we actually bring them in.
Yeah.
So Mayfest, we brought them in, we sat down with them, debriefed. I don't think we've gotten the time set. We were going back and forth trying to set up time with the Corn Fest group, just haven't had that success yet. But yes, that follow-up
Yeah.
is important. Yep.
I haven't heard any complaints or anything. I just brought it up as if we're gonna continue to talk about trying to encourage placemaking. One of the things Hans talked about when he presented it was getting people to do it. And some people are gonna they're not gonna come and communicate. They're gonna go, I need $1 million insurance policy. I'm out of here. They don't realize that where they can get that from and how it's not, it's not the end of the world. Everyone else gets it. But those things, somebody to just kind of help them along, maybe be somebody just not that anybody, City Hall's not friendly, but I don't know. Placemaking was what brought it into mind.
Well, and April's gone through the process many times. I mean, she's working with Ginger and Chief and Robert and everything from Fall Fest. So I mean, there's a great input from right there from one of the commission members, or committee members.
What was that after dark?
So After Dark was the city.
Fox Cities Chamber.
Fox Cities Chamber, our chamber, and then the city all work together, put together, but.
I'm still getting
Fox Cities
requests to bring that back.
Yeah, I don't think they have done one since to London, or they plan to either.
Well, if they're listening, it was a great time here in London. The citizens loved it.
Absolutely.
I'll wait till Fall Fest.
So I guess I would like to see placemaking on the agenda for next month. And I challenge everybody to go home and do some research and bring it to the table next month. Let's talk a little bit more about placemaking and see, see what you guys can dream up. So. Next meeting date would be, I'm guessing, September 26th.
That's what I got. Correct.
Okay. Is everyone cool with that date? Okay, so I guess I'm looking for a motion for adjournment. We got a motion by April, second by Hans to adjourn. All in favor?
I.
Opposed? Carried.